Hello and welcome to another calligraphy lesson. So today we'll be looking at the Roman Uncial, which looks a bit like this. These are draft examples, and that's what we're going to learn. So, as a word of introduction, the Roman Uncial, as its name suggests, was used at the Roman time and up to the 6th century approximately. And its main characteristics is that it uses only big letters, so there is not such difference between capital and small case letters, because at that time capital letters had not been invented yet. Also, it is a very elegant writing, very clear, very strong in expression, very impressive and simple at the same time. Usually it's done with a metallic nib, and that's what we're going to do today, but it is also perfectly possible to write it with a reed pen, but the result is slightly different. You'll get something like this. Of course, reed pens are often cut with broad edges. As you see, this one is 5 millimeters and it's among the smallest ones, so obviously you'll get big letters and this style when writing with a reed pen. So it gives some style for titles, for example. But in our case, we remain with the metallic nib. We'll be using a Speedball C2 nib, so remember the American nib, and this one is 3 millimeters. The edge is 3 millimeters, I mean. And for the ink, we'll be using red granate color from Herbe ink, because I always find the Uncial writing very elegant when you write with red ink. Some things to know, and if these notions are not very clear for you, I suggest you go back to the 3 introductory videos, and especially number 2 and possibly 3, which was about the foundational hand. So the size for the Uncial, let's place ourselves here. The size for the Uncial is 1, 5, and 1. So as you see, the ascender and descender line are very small, but the X high is 5 times the width of your nib. Whereas for the ascender and the descender, it's only 1 time. It's only the size of your nib here. So in our case, since our nib is 3 millimeters, we'll get 3 millimeters for the ascender and the descender line, but the X height is going to be 5 times 3, so we get 1.5 centimeter or 15 millimeter, which is the same. All right, so let's take a new page, a new paper, and let's prepare it by drawing the reference lines. All right, our paper is ready. So as a reminder, the size of the letters, the normal size for the Roman Uncial are 1, 5, 1 times the width of your nib. So here again, we have a 3 millimeters nib, so we got 3 times 5, 15 millimeters, so 1.5 centimeter, and again 3 for the descender, and then again ascender, X height, descender, etc., etc. By the way, you have to know that here again we are looking only at the Roman Uncial, which is still a good exercise for beginners after you have studied the foundational hand, for example. But you have to know that there are also other types of Uncial, especially what is called the artificial Uncial, but I don't really like that name. Instead, it's better to call it late Uncial, used at the very beginning of the Middle Ages. But this style of writing requires more technique and more experience, so it's more suitable for advanced levels. So maybe I do another video on this subject later. It is more difficult because you have to change the angle of your nib while writing. The advantage for the Roman Uncial is that your pen angle remains the same for almost all letters, but you'll see for one or two of them you have to operate a change in the angle, but not while writing. You'll see it directly while writing the whole alphabet. So, useful information finally before starting. The slant angle for the Uncial is 0 degrees. So it's no italic, it's written straight, 0 degrees. And your pen angle, the average pen angle is 30 degrees, exactly like the foundational hands. Sometimes some people use 20 degrees for the Uncial, but in our case we remain at 20 degrees. Okay, so let's prepare the nib. Let's load it with the ink. We load the nib with the ink. We try it on our draft paper. The nib is working. Okay. And let's get started with the name of the alphabet, and then we'll be writing all letters one by one. So this is just to allow you to see the general technique for the Uncial before I turn to more detailed explanations. So I take 30 degrees. Here there is no explanation, it's just as so as to say pre-training. So 30 degrees, and let's try what we get. Not enough ink, which explains why the starting is a bit difficult. Alright, so it's far from being perfect, but it allows me to try my nib on my side and also the ink and just see if the result is suitable for me. Now let's look at all the letters in the correct order, but you remember that there are groups of letters you should learn at first. So I suggest always straight letters such as the I, the L, the N also is a good one, U, and then you can turn to round letters like the C, the A has some strange shapes also, the B, etc. And let's get started, all letters with the explanations, and something better than this draft here. So letter A, I start here at 30 degrees, and I do not change the angle of my pen and of my nib. So 30 degree up on the X high, a bit to the right, descending, finishing like this, then going up in the middle, some round shape, down to the X height, and back. And here's your A, which is a nice one here. I do it again probably for this size. I mean this part of the letter, which requires some practice, but you have to know that it is only a way of doing this part. So again, 30 degrees, down, here, round shape and down, and tuk. Now let's turn to the B. At the top, 30 degrees, down and straight. I'll start again, I was not straight. So 30 degrees, down and straight, down to the bottom of the X height, and going on the right. Back here, first round shape, and second round shape, and join the bottom line. And you see this one here has to be bigger. The downside, the down part, I mean, has to be bigger than the upper part. And here's your B. And turning to C, here you'll see how to use the tip of your nib. So here usually we're using the whole nib. The whole nib is in contact with the paper like this, but here for one part of the C you have to turn. Here I'm exaggerating, that you have to turn your pen to use only the tip of your nib. I'm doing it the first time and then do a second time. So for the C, starting here, 30 degrees, round shape, back here, half round shape, tip. For this part especially, here, you see here, it's not mandatory, but still, I found it really beautiful. And if you have to practice, if you want to practice late uncial, then you have to learn to get accustomed to turning your nibs. So doing it a second time, 30 degrees, round shape, half round shape, and here you are. Turning to letter D now, taking some more ink. Letter D may require some practice from you because it's very typical. The shape is very typical of the uncial. So, as usual, it starts almost like the C, so starting at 30 degrees. Round shape, going back here on the top, and joining. You have to correct a little bit, so we are a bit cheating, but here's your D. Doing it again, because here the bottom was not quite successful. And here's something rather acceptable for the D. Turning to the E now. E is like C first. 30 degrees, round shape. And the tip, using the tip of your nib. And extend, and here's your E. Now the F. So for the F, You're starting here at the top of the X height, going down, extend, and you stop. You can stop in the middle of the center line. First stroke here with the tip of the nib, and the second one has to be very low and shorter like this. And here's your F. Now turning to G, round shape like C and E, 30 degrees. Oops, sometimes it happens when you use the tip of your nib. And from here, here's your G. Let's make another one just to avoid the tiny spots of ink. All right. Now the H. So for the H, you can go up to the ascender line here. Descend. Stop here. And round shape. There's your H. Let's move the paper. Then letter I, which is not a difficult one. Starting here, 30 degrees. Going down. And that's it. J is rather similar, just be careful with the direction of your letter. You see the difference. Still 30 degrees. Going down, descend the line, and that's it. Then K, starting like almost like I, descending, but I stop here at the bottom of the X height. Second stroke. And third one. I'll just check the ductus for this letter because it looks like an R and I'm not satisfied with it. Okay, yeah, forget about this one. There is a problem. The problem was on this part here. So K, doing it again. You see, you can sometimes forget the ductus. It's okay. So going down here, we're okay. In fact, here you have to do this way, and now it looks like a K. Now L, you have to do a horizontal stroke. You start the ascend down and go a bit to the left. Start here again, extend to the right, up, down. Now comes probably my favorite one for the Uncial with the A or the E is the M. So 30 degrees, round shape, go straight, and round shape again. And here's the Uncial M. Now comes the tricky letter N. So here, for this letter, I suggest you change the angle of your nib, because I'll show you why. If you use a constant 30 degrees, as we have done so far, I'm taking some more ink. So if you use only 30 degrees, you see what's gonna happen. So this is letter N with 30 degrees. So you'll probably think that it is not that shocking. Yeah, indeed it's not shocking, but my feeling is that this letter looks okay, it looks fine, but looks too thick for me. So what you can do is you can keep 30 degrees for this stroke, but for the two straight ones, I suggest you change the angle from 30 to 45 degrees. And look at the difference now. So 45 degrees now, no more 30, but 45. Going down and a bit to the left. Now back to 30 degrees. Extending down to the right. 45 again. And here's what you get. So I found now the letter is more balanced in some way. But then it's up to you. You can choose either this one or that one. It's totally up to you. If you look at models from the Roman Uncial, you can see the two strokes here are much thinner than the central one. So that's why you have to adapt the angle. It's just for the harmony and the balance of your letter. Now letter O with only round shapes. So back to 30 degrees now. So one round shape to the left and the other to the right. Try to be symmetric. And here's your O. I should have gone very down to the bottom of the X height, but we'll pass on this detail. Letter P now. Start here 30 degrees. Down. Then come back here. Round shape. And you try to stop here in the middle. And if your round shape is a bit up to the right, it's normal, as it means that your angle is 30 degrees more or less. So letter Q, you have two possibilities. Either almost the contrary of the P, like this, but descending to the descender line. It is not my favorite one though. I prefer a round shape and then you add on the descender line this, which is much more elegant, I think. Letter R now. 30 degrees, top of the X height, descend, extend, then round shape, almost like the P, stop here, and extend down to the right. And here's your R. Now for the S. For the S, you have to decompose it, of course, as usual. So start here at 30 degrees, as usual. First, round shape on the left. Start here, not here, because here you go thick, thin, and thick again. We want to keep almost the same thickness, so start here again. Second stroke to the right, round stroke. It has to be almost symmetrical. And here is another tricky thing. You have to change the angle of your pen while writing. So in fact, in my case, I start like this, go down, and then adapt the angle back to 30 and joining the end of my stroke here. And the same as above, which looks like this in fact. And here's a nice S. So if you're beginners, you're still a beginner or discovering Uncial, of course, you can remove these small parts here just by doing this. Doing it again, but without changing the angle of my knee, keeping 30 degrees. And that's the S without turning your knee. But again, if you want later to practice late Uncial, you have to get accustomed to turning your knee. Then the T. Two possibilities. Either with the straight upper part, still at 30 degrees, so that's the first choice, but my favorite one is this one. Almost missed it. Try to do something a bit wavy. And here is it. Do not exaggerate the round shape here. For the U, you start this way here, going to the right, round, not exaggerating, go up, and then straight one. And here's letter U. Now V, here also you can operate a change in the angle of your knee. Just taking some more ink. All right. So for the first stroke, no problem. You just start at the upper line of the X height, 30 degrees, then you go down and you stop here at the bottom. And then I'll show you what you can do. So that's how I do. 30 degrees, as I said, and going down a bit to the right. Then I go up here. I do something to the right, then change the angle almost to 70 to 80 degrees and extend it, which gives this. That's the version with changing the angle. If you're still a beginner discovering the Uncial, there's another method, another way to do it. So for the first stroke, no change. And you can do this part, and then extend it. And here is an acceptable V. In fact, turning the nib here just allows for something smoother change in the strokes here, but that's okay. You can do almost the same for the W. In fact, W is V, but with one more step. Let's do it. 30 degrees, first stroke, extend down right. Then here I'll take a wide angle, going down, back here 30 degrees, extend it to the very bottom, and here again. Same technique. And here's your W. The last three letters now. The X, no problem for the first stroke, 30 degrees. Extend, there you are. And then, again, this movement here. Okay, so I guess this one we all agree it's missed. So I'll do it again. It's okay. You have the right to stop here midway. And then come back here. Still, I'm not that satisfied. So let's do another variant, so an alternative model. Or maybe I just have to extend more to the right. First stroke. And then you're free to do this version. You're still correct. And for the Y, start just like the V, but stop before. So here I try to operate changes in the angle of my nib, but I'll do it again without changing the angle midway, so going down and stopping here, this shape, down. So you see here I change the angle, of course, but not by writing. And back here, still back at 30 degrees, extend to the descend the line, and here's your Y. And finally Z, no change in the angle, 30 degrees, horizontal bit to the right, down, and to the right again. There's another version too, with a bigger stroke in the middle. So here I didn't lift the nib, but you can also do this to the right, lift the nib. So here take a closer angle, almost 10 degrees, down, and back to 30 here, and up. And here's your Uncial alphabet. So you see some letters have variant models, but the spirit of this writing is almost the same, whatever variant you use. And now, as usual, to finish with, let's do a pangram so as to use all letters in a sentence. And this time we'll be using a French pangram. For the foundational hand we used an English one, and so as a change we use a French pangram here. Alright, here we go with the French pangram. Let's better start. Let's start here. So I remind you there are no big letters for the Uncial. The size is the same. If you want to do a big letter, by the way, you can just what you can do is just increase the size of the first letter among this alphabet here, but that's all you can do in fact. All right, let's get started. So you see here the shape of my O is not absolutely perfect, but we'll keep the critics for the end. want. Okay, so that's what you should get more or less if you have worked enough on this ABC. So, as usual, let's be critical on this work before ending. So, on the first line, I don't see big mistakes. Everything seems okay. But on the second line, there was a problem with the W, and I'm not quite satisfied with the H here. The space in here should be a bit wider, so it should have gone more like this, and the tip here should be more pointed. But here that's a detail, but that's for the harmony. And the big problem with the W are this here, the strokes are not perfectly straight. There was also some kinds of problem on this part, so I think the W, let's say it is the shittiest one here. Sorry for my, pardon my French, but you have to call things by their name. That's so then, but I think I know why. Because I had some problem. My nib, my pen holder slipped a little bit in my hand, and I realized it only after having done this stroke here and had to adapt a little bit, but didn't adapt completely. So W is missed here. Yeah, for the rest is okay. I hope you noticed how those tips for the S or here the change in the nib angle was done. Here's okay. B, here I noticed something here. There was a tiny problem when joining this stroke with the initial one. But for the rest, yeah, the O shape, I don't know why I had some problems tonight with the shape, the round shape, not for all of them, but here there's a kind of problem here as well with the T. It's not perfectly harmonious, but okay, but it's okay for the Q, and the rest is fine. So, probably it's getting late for me, yeah, so my some of my round shapes are not really willing to work with me tonight. So that's, yeah, that's all my critics for this work, but that's how a pangram in Uncial should should look like. Sorry. And yeah, I suggest you work with the simple version first, so without changing the angle of your nibs while writing, except for the N, for so that your letter is more balanced, and then progressively try changing the angle of your nib when writing, as I did for the E or for the V, the C. Where's the C here? Where's my C? Yeah, the C, the E here, the F also. So just to get this nice effect, and that will get you a costume that will get you used to doing the same thing for much more letters. I mean, for many more letters. When we'll be practicing the late uncial. So hope this was useful for the Roman uncial first, and have fun practicing it because it's a really nice writing. It's really elegant, especially in red. Wish you success. Don't hesitate to write questions in comments if needed, and we'll see for a next lesson probably some days later. So have fun with the uncial first.